Yeah. So here what we are understanding is Angular standalone components. It's altogether new feature, and in our project we would be using this Angular 17. And very important thing, we would be doing everything with the standalone components. Okay, that's why we are understanding the concept of standalone components. So if you see here, just we have created one component. If new component will always have standalone true by default. New component will always have standalone true by default in Angular 17. We may turn off this as well. So selector, that is okay. And I have created inline template. What do you mean by inline template? Template would be here itself and styles are marked here itself. You don't need a separate file. Okay. Now ABC component we have. Now let me create one more component. Can you see this structure? Let's create a PQR component. PQR component, inline template true, inline style true. And one more flag I will enable, -- flat. Now what do you mean by flat? See, hit the enter. Now if you see here, src app abc named folder have been created. So name of the component is abc. It has created one folder called as abc, and inside that abc your spec file and the component file have been created. But here there is a no folder named pqr has been created. Why? You have written what? Flat. Means what? You don't need to create separate folder. ABC would be having separate folder, but PQR will not have a separate folder. Why? It is a flat. Correct? You got it or not?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's go here and see the routing. How you do generally? So when we do routes, what we do? There is no change. So we are understanding, remember that, we are understanding routing by means of lazy components. Correct? So here we can say ABC. Here we can say ABC. And here I can say ABC component. Similarly, one more route we need to have path PQR component and PQR component. Correct? Now you will ask the question, well, there is no app module file. So where router has been set up? Now if you go here, imports router outlet. Imports what? Router outlet. So when you talk about the routing, the router API were updated and simplified to take the advantage of the standalone component. And ng module is no longer required in many common lazy loading scenarios. Right? Router APIs were updated. Now let us see this thing let's see this thing in action. Is it working or not? ng or npm start. Have you typed this much code?
The password?
Sorry, localhost 4200. There is nothing. /abc. Can you see ABC works? And PQR works. Correct? So there is no need of ng module, but routers works in same fashion. This works. So we have configured the route. Even child routes will also work. No problem.
Okay.
Correct?
Yes. But the lazy loading thing, how is it going to be?
Will also work. Lazy loading will also work. Can you see? A lazy loading standalone component. That will also work. We'll see that. First type this much code shortly.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
So I will push somehow I lost the project.
Which?
My project somehow I have lost.
Which project?
Uh, Whatever code I have typed, that one.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
We'll do it again. Okay.
Yeah. It's working at my machine. Park and pick up on it.
Path and component, right? It is working. Ng new stand app. Routing is working, you mean to say, correct?
Yeah, correct.
You created two components or one?
Two components. Actually, I have created four components, but I have added a path for two components.
Okay. Just try with. Yeah, now it is there.
Sorry.
So let me quickly create nggc abc nggc abc inline template inline style and hyphen flat. Okay, abc has been created. pqr now. Yeah, abc and pqr that have been created. Now here, path to component mapping. A definition of router, I hope you remember.
Yeah.
It is a path to component mapping, correct?
Yes.
abc.
Uh,
Yeah, go ahead. Any question?
yeah, if I want, like I have created one header component. I want to add that app header. Previously, we were doing. We are adding app header with tag, HTML tag with our header component.
Correct.
That we have.
Correct.
But in this 70, it is not taking.
Yeah, see now. So you want to use abc in a pqr, correct?
Correct.
Let's create a separate component. Say, here you can say text component.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So text component have been created. So first let me run the project. npm start. 4200. Okay, if here you see pqr works.
Yeah.
So let's delete all these things. pqr works. So we have text component. Now you want to import inside a text component. Let's write something. Here we can say h1. Here also we can say h1. This is text component, right? So if you go here in PQR component, can you see there is a imports text component, and then here you can say app text, app text.
So here we can
See
add
here.
any components.
Yeah, here you can add as many as components you want to add.
Okay. I'll try it.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, it's working. Okay. Everybody is yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any other question in the perspective of standalone component?
Mm, no, not that.
Okay. Now
Yeah, well, I guess
say that again.
providers array.
Providers array. Yeah, yeah,
Providers, yeah.
yeah. We'll see that. About the services, we'll see. Okay. Now, what I wanted to show you related to the lazy loading. Correct? So when you talk about lazy loading, what do you mean by lazy loading? First explain me. Say it again.
At least until we are not clicking on that component, it won't
Ha.
load.
So routes or the components will not be getting loaded until it is requested, until it is required.
Okay.
Until it is required, that particular code for the component will not load. That's what the lazy loading is. Otherwise, what will happen? Whenever we have this route, all the things, all the codes would be loaded in the beginning itself. Correct?
Right.
And that we need to avoid. And that's why we incorporate something called as lazy loading. So here, how to implement lazy loading? Syntax would be same the way we were doing in earlier cases, right? Path ABC, path ABC, then component. Here you can say load component, sorry, load component, and then we need a fat arrow over here, and that fat arrow will import, if you can see, import that fat arrow will import your particular ABC component dot, then here you can get M arrow, M arrow, M dot ABC component. So this is how you will load what? Lazy load the component. Same thing we can do. Say PQR, and name of this would be PQR and PQR component. Correct?
Okay.
PQR component. Now go here, refresh /ABC. ABC will work. In the output, there is no difference, but the way it loads, that would be a little bit different.
Okay.
This is how you
What
will.
is the variable?
M is the variable.
Okay.
That name can be anything.
Okay.
So this import you will write, or you will tell name of the file that needs to be loaded, dot then.
Okay.
And then this is any variable name. If you see, this is the promise. When it is then, it is the promise. We are resolving a promise, and then this is the output of the earlier promise.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Can you try?
Yeah, sure.
Say that again.
I was checking that the code, whatever you have written.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
This is working, right?
Yes, exactly. Like the bootstrap where we are going to write the bootstrap array.
Bootstrap array.
In models we are having bootstrap.
Yeah. Yes. I got it. If you look at the main.ts, something have been added over here as an app config.
Right.
And can you see this is little bit changed? Application config, provider, and the routes. So if you go here, main TS has also been changed, and directly here, app component you have written, correct?
Okay. Yeah.
And some configuration. This configuration related to the routes, correct?
Okay.
Okay, let's try to create a project without router. Okay,
Okay.
and then see what happens. Not much change. It doesn't make that much change. Okay, ng new and no RTR, no router. Okay, ng new, no router. Hit the enter. CSS. Okay, now it will Angular 17 will create application with router itself. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, just a minute. Just a minute.
Okay.
I'm just confirming one thing. So whenever, if you see here, whenever Angular 17 project is there, router would be by default configured, right? And Angular 17 promotes that you should use the router in your application, right?
Okay.
So there is no application you can imagine without having the router. And by that consideration, Angular 17 says that I will keep I will keep router in a default configuration itself, like this. So this file they will give, and in a main, this bootstrapping application will have this change. In my opinion, app config, if you delete this thing, router will not work, right?
Okay.
Let's cd stand app and npm start. Is there any error? No error, but router will not work. Can you see that?
Yeah. Right.
If you want to make your application without router, just one change over here. Automatically, these routes won't be having any action.
Okay.
Correct? But this is not required. Your every Angular application should come with what? Router.
Okay.
But if you want to change it, you can change like this app. Just remove this app config from here. And in a app configuration, if you remove only this line, that is also okay. So app config application config. Okay, so this is a mandatory field, you cannot skip this thing, otherwise you need to make providers undefined. Undefined is allowed or not. If you see here, either it comes with the provider or the environment. No, it's an array of provider or environment provider. Now if you look at this thing, provider router, so this is dedicated. Yeah, go ahead.
Without router application.
Say that again.
Why do we need without router application?
No, we don't need, I'm saying. We don't, every application, 95% of the applications will require router, right? But you asked me this question, how to, where is the bootstrapping
So, I want to know, um, in our module 5, we were writing that bootstrap array.
huh
The basic components we can pass.
correct, here.
Component, other component, right?
Yes.
So, here there is only one component we can pass, or many more we can.
No, in Angular, that Angular also, Angular would be having only one bootstrapping component, if you remember.
So, okay, I'll try. I have the application, older one.
Yes, there is an array, but it is necessary to provide. There is an array, but it is necessary to provide only one component over there, one bootstrapping component, as Angular is a hierarchy, correct? Angular is a hierarchy of the modules and the components. There should be only one component. Well, there are some techniques where you can provide multiple components, but technically multiple bootstrapping components, but technically you should have only one bootstrapping component.
Okay.
So you are saying this array, just a minute.
Yeah.
If I can go to the web dev Angular, day 13.
So, I've done module one,
This one,
yeah, right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So here,
Comma and we can write.
right, but technically there should be only one bootstrapping component.
Right.
Okay, let me find it in the now documentation have also been changed. It is not like earlier. Right, just a minute, I will show you that part. Now we need to find out in older version, right?
Yeah.
Just a minute. As I said, you can have multiple bootstrapping components, right?
Right.
But it is generally what we do, we provide a single bootstrapping component. Why? Because there is a root of hierarchy should be only one.
Okay.
So in the documentation, I'm not getting that part, but I will read today and update you. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was there. Well, any other question related to
Routing.
routing? Otherwise, we shall move ahead.
Okay. As we, I guess, while logging and all, we will discuss that on guard and everything.
Yes, yes, yes. So still, we didn't decided what is the structure of our Angular project. That part is yet to come. But before that, this is a new concept,
Right.
right? We are understanding this new concept in the beginning.
Okay. Sure. Can I ask one example question which I got
No
twice
problem.
and I
Go ahead.
okay. So I got the question in two interviews almost. If there is a common style we want to use in two different projects, how we can do that?
Common style.
Common styles. They were saying if my admin panel application is there
Uh-huh.
and another, for example, e-commerce site is there.
Uh,
I want their CSS has to be common, like text styles and the
correct.
background color. So how we can two different applications style, how we can share that style?
Two components, right?
Not in between two components, in between two projects, they are saying.
In between two projects. So
They
you
are
will,
saying,
yeah, so you will create the library project. And
okay,
in the library project, you will implement that style. Okay. And that project you will import over here. If you want to see, let me show you that.
yeah,
Just a minute.
so there is a different way to create a library
Yes,
project.
yes,
Okay,
it is the thing. Can you see ng new? Now, if you
no,
see,
I
use
don't see.
Angular CLI to generate the library skeleton in the workspace with the following commands.
Okay,
So first, this thing you need to do.
okay,
Ng generate library. Just a minute.
yeah,
So this thing we have already created ng new my workspace. Ng new means your standalone app would be working as a workspace. No create application. So this will say that application won't be getting created inside it, but presently we have application,
right,
right? And this is
right,
you can do ng g library library and css lib. Name of the library would be css lib.
mm,
Hit the enter and see the way it creates project. In a similar fashion, it will create the library. Now here, if you see, okay, we have opened stand app directly. We need to open upper folder.
Yeah.
Angular 17 features, and this stand app. Okay, we have opened stand app. Yeah, now it has been loaded. If you see here, there is something called as projects have been created, and
Okay.
inside the project there is a CSS lib. Now remember that Angular, whenever you create something like this stand app, this stand app is not an project, not a project, but this stand app is working as a workspace. Now if you go to the angular.json over here, there is something called as stand app, and there is something called as CSS lib. In a stand app, project type is what? Application. And if you go here, CSS lib, project type is what? Library.
Okay.
So this whole is one workspace. And inside that workspace, there are two projects. One is stand app, one is CSS lib. Stand app is application, independently executable. CSS library, not independently executable. We need to import it in your project.
Okay.
Getting my point?
Yeah. Right.
So you will create this library. Now see, under the projects, you have this CSS library, and under the library, you may create as many as components you want, as many as CSS you want, and those CSS can be used in any of the project. So this workspace would be having 10 projects. So I can create one more project like this, ng new, and I can say chat app. This is a project now.
Right. Fantastic.
Oh, I'm sorry, ng generate.
Engineering. Okay.
Ng new will create a workspace. Ng generate, just a minute.
Okay.
So what? Just a minute.
Yeah.
So this feature has appeared in Angular 9.
Okay.
This feature is of Angular 9.
Common CSS thing.
No, no. App workspaces.
Okay.
Application chat app. Ng generate application chat app. Now see, in the project, it will, can you see, it will ask same thing again. I will say
Right.
no.
We are creating project.
Yeah, sub projects. So this is a one answer. Can you see? A chat app and CSS lib. Now if you go to the Angular JSON file, you would be having three things. One project is a standalone app, CSS lib, and the chat app. Now this CSS lib can be importing into the chat app or into the CSS lib can be imported into the chat app or in a stand app.
Okay. Stand up.
Correct?
Right.
Can you try this?
Yeah, sure.
So this is the one answer.
Yeah. So first I'll create one more application
Uh-huh.
and then I'll create CSS library, right?
Correct. Just a minute. I'll be back.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Got it?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, another answer. So, you will create simple node project. This is the CSS library, right?
Yeah.
You will create simple node project. You will write CSS into that node project, and you will update to the you will upload that project to the npm registry. And in your two Angular application, you will simply do npm install the way Bootstrap happens. Bootstrap is a CSS library. Agree?
Right.
So we install Bootstrap in 10 different applications, 10 different Angular application. Correct?
Right.
What do you do? Npm install Bootstrap.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? This is another way, more generic way. Now you can use that CSS library in Angular project as well as you use it in the React project.
Okay.
Bootstrap is a third party CSS framework, correct?
Yeah. Right.
You can use it in 10 Angular applications, right? Yes or
Right.
no? By means of what? Npm install Bootstrap.
Yes. Yes.
Similarly, you will also create one simple node project. Into that,
Mm-hmm.
you will implement you will write your CSS classes the way Bootstrap people have done. You will minify it and upload it to the npm registry.
Okay.
And from the npm registry, you can install it in your Angular project.
Mm-hmm.
So first way, specific to the Angular, creating the library project.
Right.
Creating what? Library
Library
project.
project.
And then importing it to your applications. Now this CSS lib project can be used anywhere in your this application or in your this application.
Okay.
Any other interview question you have?
Good.
If
Not
you,
covered.
yeah, you may note it down, all the questions, whatever questions you get.
Okay. So where we can import this library now?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
So just a minute.
Yeah.
Let me check if anything has been changed or not.
Okay.
Yeah, if you see here, not this, creating libraries. Now publishing peer dependencies. Yeah, using your own libraries in the applications. Can you see? You don't have to publish your library to the npm package manager to use it in the same workspace, but you need to build it first. Correct?
Okay.
You need to build it first, and in your application import something like this. So let's go to our library, css lib, and here public API surface of the css lib, and here I can create my.css. Say dot bigger, font size 50 em. Now export. One more line I will write. Just a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, provided in root. This is the service, this is the component we have. This is the css file. Okay, let's try to build it. Stand app ng build css lib. Okay, now in the external I have 18, correct? That's
Yeah.
why stand app npm ng build css lib
Build.
bu. Okay, this css lib has been build has been generated. Under the dist, that build would be getting generated. Can you see dist hyphen css
Yeah.
lib?
Okay.
Export from the this public API. Export star from the public star API. These things. Okay. Now in your application, just a minute.
Yeah.
Now in your application, where is your application? Chat app. Import. You can say from css lib, and if you see here, these two css lib service, css lib component is available. Well, this you have written in the css library. Now about this css file, we need to write one wrapper around it of TypeScript. Now means what? To access this css over here, this is in the css. This css can be converted to the TypeScript. One ts class we need to write. This something like this, or via this component we need to expose it to other applications. So that piece of code we need to write actually. So this css is there, so you can use this css over here, correct? So import, is it inline or what? Just a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, style url, and if I use class is equals to bigger. Now if you want to use this css, you can access it by means of this component. You getting my point or not?
Yeah. Little bit.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So what you need to do, you need to create one component named as bigger,
Okay.
and that bigger component you need to import in your this application, correct?
Yeah.
Means you'll write a css, that css will be wrapped around a element or component, and that component would be imported in your application if you want to do it in a way of Angular,
Okay.
right? If you need to do it in this way, creating a library, ng generate library, ng generate application, right? Then you need to follow the Angular analogy. Getting my point or not?
Yeah.
What Angular analogy says, that component is the first thing. So you need to create a bigger component, and that bigger component you need to import in your project. The way I'll show you, let's go to the Angular material.
Okay.
Angular material. What do you, if you want to create an Angular material in your Angular project, do you use CSS or what exactly? You use a mat button class. If you see,
Okay.
look at, just go to this input, okay? If you go
Yeah.
to the example, what you need to import? Mat input module, and from the mat input module, mat form field control harness or mat input harness. You need to use this class directly.
Right.
And this class is applied with all required CSS. Yes or no?
Yes. Correct.
You agreed? If you want
Yes.
to create the library like this, the, the bigger will not be imported directly outside that package. But more recommended approach is that create a wrapping component around it like this. Or they might have given one example. If you want to use this input box, something like this. So technically they have written CSS for this. Agree or not?
Yeah.
So
Right.
this blue line, then this red one, something like that. And if you see the code, you don't import CSS anywhere, but you import mat hint, you import mat label, you import mat form field, correct? And this mat form field internally is attached with lot of other CSS classes. Agree or not?
Yeah. Right.
So this is if you want to create your own library and if you want to import it in your project, right? One way. Otherwise, another way is of using a bootstrap plain CSS. Using a bootstrap plain CSS. npm install bootstrap, and then in the style.css you write at import bootstrap CSS, right? And your bootstrap would be applicable throughout your application.
Application.
And that you can do in a 10 Angular application. Process is same.
Right.
So this is the second approach. So first I explain you approach of Angular. Second,
Yeah.
approach of CSS, plain CSS.
So every time for Angular, we need to create a component
Huh.
and we can use it as CSS.
Correct. So let us see once again. Can we export this file, the CSS file? So this my.css. So from here, whatever from here you export, just a minute. So we might need to change our angular.json,
Okay.
angular.json of this CSS lib. CSS lib. This is the build options, configurations. This is the for test. This is for build. So under the build configuration, project configuration, production under the production ts config is there, and src. Under the src, let's create one folder, assets, and move this css file to the assets. And now assets, sorry, now assets, input, your projects colon css lib colon src colon assets, and output colon assets forward slash. Same thing over here, but why assets is not allowed? Yellow underline, can you see? Here you can say your css file my.css. This is how you need to export it. Now we need to check this will work in Angular 17 or not, or Angular 17 has some different things. For development purpose also we need this assets, ASSETS. Okay, just build the app again. Path must not have additional properties assets. So, so this is not allowed here in the library. And that's why what you need to wrap around is wrap the component around it the way Angular material and other people have done. Like this mat form field. Well, we can make some hack ways to get access to this CSS, no problem. But this file is local, that's the concern. If we upload this to the npm, then simply create a web development project, into that put the CSS, right? The way Bootstrap people have done.
Okay.
Getting my point or not?
Yeah, yeah.
Is answer
You
to
can
your
upload, yeah, right.
yes, either upload a node project, a simple node project like a Bootstrap
Right.
to the npm registry, and npm install in your n number of Angular applications. It will work. One approach. Another approach, create the library and create the components, little components like Angular material team have done. Mat form field, mat label, mat hint, like that. These are the two ways. Any questions?
No. Installing Angular material, we can use command only, right?
Yeah, we can just command only. We'll do that. We'll install the Angular
When should
material.
I try?
This one?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to cover this. Installing means whenever we will create all required things for the project. At that time, I'm going to cover all these things. How do you import the Angular material in the project?
Okay.
Fine. Any other questions do you have?
No.
Is it good for today? Shall we conclude?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm stopping the recording.